This is Logical Logistics, where we cover shipping, supply chain, logistics, and everything in between. Welcome to the show. All right, this is Joe Becht. Thanks for joining us at Logical Logistics. And today my guest is Colin Clark from Green Ox Pallet Technology, a fascinating new technology in the world of shipping, logistics, storage. Colin, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Well, without further ado, I would like you to explain this amazing new technology because, in my estimation, this could really be quite the game changer in our industry as a whole.
Well, from 100,000 foot level looking down on the playing field, this is not a new idea. It's a new technology embracing an old idea of how come we can't replace wood pallets in many instances with corrugated paper?
Right. And just to interject before you go on, the pallet, for my listeners out there, everyone knows the pallet is, I would probably say, one of the top 5 most important aspects of shipping. So continue.
So since 1969, the paper industry has tried to come up with a scalable, workable, and cost-effective paper pallet replacement for wood, which makes up between 93 and 95% of all pallets shipped around the United States. And the reason to do that, of course, would be much higher usage of the forest, a recyclable product instead of going into landfills. Pallets make up about 4% of all landfill space in the United States.
Wow.
But the weight savings are incredible. And what the problem that we've had with paper pallets since 1969 up until the point of this pallet technology is the fact that you can't scale. You can't produce them in the millions as needed by industry as a whole. Some of the agribusiness companies, some of the pharmaceutical companies need tens of millions of pallets at multiple locations around the world. Our pallet is the only one that can be produced at almost any corrugator around the world, and then in country, so you have no tariff or any shipping, and on a just-in-time basis, literally in the tens of millions, if not the hundreds of millions per month, numbers that are capacity, volume that you need to make a serious dent in the wood world.
Okay.
We have, go ahead. What's your next question?
I was just, I had a brief conversation before the show, and you mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2.4 billion pallets are out there right now?
In the United States, floating around the United States at any given day, 2.4 billion is the high number. The lowest number I've heard is 1.9 billion. So we can use that range. I can't verify it. I'm too busy running around trying to sell this thing. But so you have incredible numbers of pallets running around, and again, 93 to 95%, depending on whose numbers you believe, are still wood.
Okay.
So we have, again, the pallet that we can make in Denver for Denver. We can make it in Ningbo, China for the Chinese market and several other places. We can make it in just about every country on Earth. Today we have Corbel in San Jose, Costa Rica, producing it for us. So we don't have to export it from the United States in order for it to be used around the world. We can make it locally, assemble it locally, and put it to use on a just-in-time basis as it's needed. So you don't have to have pallet yards and millions of pallets waiting to catch on fire so that you don't run out at a critical moment.
Okay, so walk me through how does the production phase work for the Green Ox Pallet Technology?
We like to call it the box pallet because it's the same principle as any corrugated box.
Okay.
So a corrugator has our patented die for whatever pallet size that we decide to order from them. We own the die. We place it with the nearest corrugator that has the quality and price that we need for a particular location. and then they cut them out as we order them. So the client orders them from us. We go to the corrugator and order it. Corrugator cuts it out, ships it to the client, and either it's assembled just prior to the arrival at the customer, shipper, grower, whichever, or it is put together by them on site on a just-in-time basis as they need them.
Okay. Now, my first question that pops in my head is, here's a traditional wood pallet. You can beat the hell out of it, put any type of weight on it, and then you have this paper pallet. What kind of weights can it handle? Can it handle the same kind of weight as a traditional wooden pallet?
Not completely.
Okay.
We cannot go up to, say, 15,000 pounds of weight, and
Okay.
it has to be evenly distributed. But we're having no trouble with 2,000 to 3,000 pounds on these 10-pound pallets. And I'm talking about the 4840, which is virtually within a half inch to an inch, the same size as the 1.2 meter by 1 meter that is used greatly over in the EU. But we're able to ship pallets of bottled beer, 2,750 pounds of peanuts. We're able to ship some heavy loads, but realize that we have the vast majority of pallet loads out there in the world are less than 1,500 pounds on each pallet, and of course we have no trouble with that.
Yeah, and then if I'm doing my rudimentary calculations in my head correctly, with your technology, it's going to be conformed to different sizes. So you're actually saving space on a truck or a ship or whatever, correct? And even with the 15,000 pounds, that could be broken down in some way. And it seems more efficient with your way of doing that. Am I correct?
It is highly efficient. We're able to change the size of the pallet at will to fit the product that is going on the pallet. For instance, for us, for a bike pallet, a sporting goods store shipping bikes around the country, we notice that they're using for a 65-inch long box, they're putting it on a 4840 pallet and have a huge overhang. We can make the pallet 65 by 36 or 65 by 40, whatever they need to put several bikes on one pallet that is actually protecting the load. But it's also, I liken it to when you tell your 5-year-old child to clean up their room and they just pick everything off the floor, throw it in the closet, and can't get their door closed on the closet, and yet mom comes in, folds the clothes, puts things where they're supposed to go, and then all of a sudden everything fits.
Right.
We have, with one sporting goods store that we have done a study with, we took their cube utilization from 63% to up over 90% cube utilization and taking 700 of their trucks off the road each year.
Holy cow.
So this is, if you check out another website that we helped instigate, it's called changethepallet.org. It talks very heavily about that. And then also the software company ESCO out of Europe has worked with us on this concept of utilizing the cube far more efficiently. And it is estimated we will take between 10 and 15% of all trucks off the road.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
Well, they say that. They're saying that in Washington, D.C. as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm speechless. That's it's quite a statistic. Now you mentioned that the technology came. It's been there since 1969, correct?
No, the idea. The
idea
of a paper pallet.
Okay.
Right.
So where did Green Ox decide to move forward with this concept and bring it to the forefront where it's at now?
Green Ox is a marketing and business expansion firm, and we're working with the actual inventor, whose name is Doug Olvey, out of Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
We are the sole exclusive distributors of all his technology that started back before 2008 with the original patents. But we also have a design shop in here that has worked with Mr. Olvey to expand the width and breadth of his original patents, and we've applied since the last 18 months. We've applied for over 20 more patents,
Wow.
whether it's a round pallet, a tray pallet, etc., and improving upon the original concept. So this all started with Doug down in Orlando, and Larry Skeeto, who is also on his staff, and also a great designer. We are working with that, shall I say, conception of the idea of this different and, shall I say, transformational pallet technology.
Okay. Now you mentioned that the assembly of the pallet is done locally. What countries are you in right now where they're doing assembly?
In Kenya, we have Eco Pallets of Kenya distributing for us there. We have GPS of Costa Rica working with us out of San Jose, but all over the country of Costa Rica. Of course, here in the United States, we have just started talking about expanding into Mexico and into Canada.
Okay.
So we are at a very early stage of business development here.
All right. Now, are there any countries that are depleted or do not have the forestry that we have in the United States that would be just an incredible market to develop these types of pallets? I'm just thinking, not every country has the forestry that we have to make the traditional pallet. So aside from the eco-friendly technology that you're producing, you're producing a pallet that can be developed by a company or a country that doesn't have the trees, correct?
Yes, and I'll say the three big ones that I could come up with right now that have trouble finding pallets for export are India,
Right.
China, and Mexico. Finding a pallet in any of those countries is extremely difficult. And they have huge export capability,
Right.
and we're able to ship the paper in rolls to those countries. They already have the corrugation facilities there to do the conversion and cut our pallets out. So again, those are the three biggest that come to mind: Mexico, China, and India.
That's incredible. So what are your challenges right now that you're facing?
The biggest single challenge we have is acceptance by retailers. For some reason, and we scratch our heads and we talk to people all over the country, we do not have retailer acceptance. 92 out of the top 100 retailers around the United States do not accept paper pallets. They have policies that actually forbid paper pallets because, A, they know the past of what's happened since 1969. Many pallets have failed and have not stood up to the rigors of a wood pallet, and then what happens in transportation. And number two is they don't know this pallet exists yet. And we're in the process of education and training and going out with the growers and the processors and the packers and teaching them and trying to gain acceptance by the retailers that where it's appropriate for our paper pallet, they will accept the pallet coming in their doors or onto their docks with load appropriate product.
So you'll literally have to go into these retailers with a load of their material and show them that, hey, this works.
Yes, I'm not going to name any of the retailers
Oh,
by
yeah,
name,
yeah.
but I will say that we have been to some as long ago as 3 years ago,
Okay.
and they said, we don't want to see this pallet, we'll kick it off our dock if it shows up, because they didn't believe in it, and they also have the problem or the challenge of converting their workers' thinking to go with paper versus wood or plastic. Another problem is some of them have open rack systems where we need a supported closed rack, which is, of course, much better for human safety, product safety, etc. But some companies just haven't bitten the bullet and closed their racks in where they have racks in their DCs. Other companies don't have any racking, so they floor load everything. So we have no problem with that and going into those stores. But the education process has already begun. And we believe we have some major players now working with us that are going to help change the thinking inside the retail industry. It's a group that watches what the others do. If we can get one of the major retailers, and we are in discussions with some that I can't go into right now, where they are about to accept our pallet. And once that happens, the excuse goes away for the other retailers,
Right.
and they will have to learn.
Now, I think about all the warehouses I've been in, and the pallet is so abused. Um, just throwing around wood chips everywhere. How does it? How with a forklift? I'm just thinking the forklift. Is there any issue there with the forklift doing its job with the Green Ox pallet?
You'll actually find that the Green Ox pallet is in many ways more forgiving than a wood pallet.
Okay.
It actually absorbs shock. It doesn't splinter. It doesn't have nails that come out of the pallet and fall on the ground. They're actually much cleaner, and they're, again, more forgiving. One of the things you can't do is have a loaded pallet and shove it across the ground. It is absolutely up to the forklift driver to not be lazy and pick it up off the ground and clear any obstacles as they should with a wood pallet. If you go to any of the wood pallet websites and look at their instructions on handling, they say do not push the pallet along the ground. So you will have to handle it a little bit differently, but the industry will learn, just as they did when they moved from wood crates to corrugated boxes, that it is a very forgiving and strong tool for packaging if you handle it correctly. So there has to be a change. And we have proof positive of our business case being proven by a little company called IKEA, which has, for the last 5 years, has implemented for transport only a paper pallet that is very rudimentary. It's very old-fashioned. It's glued, and it's not mass-produced. It's only for IKEA. And yet, in 5 years, they have saved over $1 billion in transport costs, and they have removed from the atmosphere almost 400,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. So IKEA, which is one of the most forward-thinking companies in the world when it comes to being green and saving money, has already proven a business case. If you make the adjustment and learn how to work with paper, you can save a lot of money and you can save a lot of greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, you just threw out some very powerful, realistic statistics. So if that doesn't make an impact on my listeners, I don't know what would. $1 billion plus how much in greenhouse emissions?
If I hope I'm saying this correctly, but I believe it was about 380,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emission savings.
Wow.
They're taking trucks off the road. They're getting more product on the truck. Think about it. If you go from a 60-pound, 70-pound wood pallet down to a 10.5-pound paper pallet, how much more products can you put on your truck? How many trucks are you taking off of those mountain passes like the Sierra Nevadas and the Colorado Rockies? You're just able to clear up the roads. You're able to lessen those emissions, take some trucks off the road, and save it all directly to your bottom line.
That's fantastic. All right, so joining us today is Colin Clark from Green Ox Pallet Technology. Colin, what's the best way to reach you, and what's the best way to reach your company?
Well, the easiest is our website, greenoxpallets.com. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of us, simply at the request more information page. But also I can throw out my phone number at 720-273-2827 or Colin.Clark, COLIN.CLARK at greenoxpallets.com.
All right, so that's Colin.Clark. Clark?
Yes.
All right, at greenoxpallets.com. The website is greenoxpallets.com. And then what is the changethepallet.org website?
Changethepallet.org is a public policy influence and education website that we run out of Portland, Oregon. I shouldn't say we run it, but some people in Portland, Oregon are running it, and they feature Green Ox pallets and how well they work to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and waste to the landfill, et cetera. But so greenoxpallets.org is the business, and then policy is changethepallet.org.
Okay, so once again, my guest today was Colin Clark from Green Ox Pallets. The best way to reach him is colin.clark@greenoxpallets.com. Visit the website at greenoxpallets.com. Colin, thank you so much for joining us. This is just a fascinating product that you have, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you, Joe. Take care.
All right, bye. And we'll see you next time on Logical Logistics.
Click the subscribe button for new videos every week and download us and review us on iTunes. Visit www.beslogistics.net for more logistics, transportation, and warehousing resources. Thanks for watching.